Thank you, everyone. This is probably the last session, and I feel that, and probably you also. Good thing is that it is very demoish. It will be less talk and more of showing you the things like in real time. So it will be very interactive, and I will still try to cover it within time. I will not do 5 hours thing, but yeah. So yeah, the topic is basically how you visualize your GitHub repos from a way using like a tool Grafana in a visual way. And about me, so my name is Usman Ahmad and I work in Grafana Labs as a staff developer advocate. So basically that means I work with the open source community via GitHub, Slack, so you say like community forums, and try to help them either like in bug fix process or create documentation. If there are any missing gaps in documentation, write it down, and also create technical content by video tutorials and so on. And in my previous role, I have been in the industry for more than 15 years, and I have been always a Linux user using Fedora 6, actually, from the very back of the day. Really love Linux, and in tech support, I have also that kind of fun, like you analyzing 50 GB of log files from SSH, which is not so fun. Thank God we have tools for that now. And yeah. And beside work, I'm from Nuremberg, Germany, and I have a family. So most of my time goes in family stuff. But when I'm free, I like to create tutorials specifically for open source tools and even for Grafana and write technical content. It's my thing. I like writing. Yeah. And you can find more about me if you scan this QR code or just visit my LinkedIn profile. So before Git, who remember these? Can you raise your hand? So you guys are legend because this is the way I also did my university project. Like I have the code and copying the files, and then this happens. And you like, I hate it. I don't like this. And then thank God the universe listened to us and we got Git or GitHub. Yeah, before that it was Git, and then GitHub provides us like a platform where we can work together in a harmony and report issues, create PRs, feature requests, and now like you can do how you say like workflows as well. Many complicated stuff which I also do not know. I don't do everything, but I know GitHub enough that I can create a PR, merge it, or file a feature request. When GitHub was launched, it was somewhere written still on their documentation page that it is for everyone, that everyone, every kind of user can use and understand GitHub. But to me, it was not so true because we as tech group, we understand GitHub. We understand what a PR means, what an issue means, how to label those issues and so on. But if you ask someone else who is not so technical, maybe someone in your leadership team or maybe your manager who is mostly looking on the performance side, that person will say, hey, I just need the data. I'm not interested in the technicality. This is where my talk starts. Hey, this is a typical GitHub issue lifecycle that you have a new issue, you have a lot of suggestions. Is it a bug or it might be a feature request, and it goes in process. Then you put some labels, and then once it is done, it is closed. And this is fine. This is not a problem, but the problem arises when you have more than single repository. We work on our projects monthly or weekly basis or maybe daily basis, or you get new projects, and the repo size never decreases. It will always keep increasing. You have one repo for one project and it goes on. It's like n+1 thing. And you have a whole of these things, like you have to remember the status. Hey, if I'm working on this backend repo, so the labels are different. If I'm working on the front end, the labels look different. I need to contact to other team and so on. So yeah, this is like a mess, how it looks like. I suffer this a lot, even working in Grafana and before that as well. And it was a nightmare to know all these things at once. And I created some hacky shortcut, but that was only available for me and my brother, not to others. And others then suffer. So if I summarize what are the challenges for us, the tech folks, I will just keep moving it. So first one is the ownership. We don't know who is really owning this repository. We are all working, but who is taking the lead? Then decision making, should we do this PR right now? What about, hey, those PR we are coming from the external community members who are coming from the community side. Someone is looking to it or not? Complexity grows, that's true. and you have deadlines, you have to do some other work because your customer is waiting, and you can't always focus on the OSS side. You have to push the paid project sides. Yeah. And the last but not least is the lack of visibility, or there's no centralized view what you are looking for, or where everyone should look for, rather than just raising fingers, right? So this is the worst time of the year when someone look at you in your eye, and it could be also you as a manager, for managers as well, that some people like this and say, hey, you did the job well, and guess what? It's not looking good for you. So how to avoid this? How to find the solution? For me, actually, it's Grafana. I think some people already know about Grafana, but I will go very quickly. So it is available on all sort of platforms. You can run it on Docker, Kubernetes, local machine, even on Raspberry Pi. It supports various visualizations built in, or you can use community ones as well. And only you need a source of data. So it does not need to be configured within Grafana. It just tell your data source that, hey, this is my Grafana and this is my IP address, and Grafana will take it. Now the question arises that does Grafana works only with Prometheus? Raise your hands, please, if other than Prometheus or the other tools which works with Grafana. Okay. Can you name a few? Okay. Someone in the back? Okay. I'm sorry? CloudWatch. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Those, that's right. So these, like Loki is also a Grafana related product. Victoria Matrix, I believe. Yeah. That's also a healthy competitor for us. And yeah, CloudWatch. So there are tools available, but these tools are known as plugins, and not so much people aware of it. And we have about 110 plus plugins available, but let's take a look in this picture. So most of you already know, like the middle part of the screen, that this is you work every day and night, or at least once a month or week. And this is our big 10 data sources. So we have data sources, aka plugins, for many of the stuff. So we have plugin or plugin for GitHub, GitLab, SAP, Oracle, MySQL, you name it. And you connect it, or you use some of these in your environment, and you have an option like how you can collect all those matrices. Either you can go for like approach like Prometheus to collect the metrics, or use nowadays OpenTelemetry, and you can use Grafana Agent or Alloy as well. Yeah. And then the composable stack here is we call it LGTM stack, or the new addition is the Periscope, so LGTMP. And this stack is basically purely open source. You don't need to pay for it. You can get all these features for free. And beyond that, we have some additional tools which are also open source. So for performance testing, we have K6, which is also for load testing. We have for front-end performance, we have Faro and eBPF as well, which is known as Bela. And we have tools for infrastructure observability as well, like whole set of application for Kubernetes or for cloud services. And last but not least, for alerts and so on. So you can get all these in a single place. And let's break down the plugin part. So on the top, we have plugin. And plugins are categorized in 3 different types. So data sources, panels, and apps. Today, we're going to talk about the data source, and the one which we're going to talk about is the GitHub data source. So this is available also on all Grafana versions, and it supports various visualization formats, and it is very easy to set up and integrate. Like simply install the plugin in your Grafana from the Grafana UI, and all you need is like an API key, which we'll take a look. And it has quite a lot of features actually. So on the back-end side of the plugin, it can do or analyze or visualize all these things, issues, PRs, workflows. And on the front end, it can do the visualization of queries. It supports variables and annotations. So how do we configure? So yeah, this is the 2-step process. Install it directly in Grafana and configure the API key. And how it is going to work. So let's understand, this is important. So this is your Grafana, and you install the GitHub data source directly from Grafana. I can show you as a very quick demo how it looks like if you may not be familiar. So here in Grafana, you go in administration and plugins and data. Go in plugins and just search for GitHub. And once you have it, you can install it, add a new data source, and it will just ask for API key, which you can give from your GitHub account. So that's pretty much it, and it's all done. Yeah. So you set up the API token, and what it requires, the other information is the owner, who is the owner, and which repository you would like to visualize or get the data. Once you have set up all this correctly, you send the request to the GitHub server. And if it is all valid, the response will get in a JSON format, which is then visible in a Grafana dashboard or in a panel. So let's create a dashboard. So this is the flow which we're going to take a look. We have already understand the first two steps. So now we will create a live query, and we also perform or understand how transformation works. And today we're going to take a look about the organized fields, and we will use the table panel visualization. So I hope that real demo works. It should. So what I will do, I will just create a new from scratch, and I hope it is viewable, yeah. So here in the data source, I will select GitHub. Okay, and since the plugin is already configured, so all I need is to put the query type. I'm very interested to know the issues, and the owner will be Grafana, and the repository, I believe, yeah, it's here. And we already started to get some sort of data, and let's change it to the table panel. Okay, now we have all this data coming, and this is good. Now we have in a single dashboard, we can see all the data for at least this repo. Okay, this is fine. Now the next step is the transformation. So how we can transform it in a way so that it looks more readable, not just to you, but to anyone else who we want to show this dashboard, and it makes sense for the other person. So going back. Yeah, we can skip this because I just showcase you. So yeah. So transformation is basically a very powerful feature built in Grafana. It allows you to transform the data which you wish to look like, because data coming from the source may not be the best format, and you want to customize it, you want to modify it, and there you can use Grafana transformation. And it supports many different types. So like you can transform your data by regex, or by convert its field type or extract. But today we're going to take a look how to do the filtering of data. So let's go back to the demo. And I think this is fine. I maximize a lot. So just reducing it. Yeah, so let's filter it out. All right, I will just type organize. So use the organized field by name, which is also a way to filter it. And here you can see like the raw data has like title, author _ company, and so on. So we can name it like title as the description, and repo author company or author as the username. I think that makes sense. And if we want to hide something which is not relevant for us at all, but the data is coming, we can put this a small check and the field will be disappeared. And that way we can reduce and format our data so that it looks more reasonable, more approachable, and more readable. This is the way you can do the transformation. And yeah, so that is the part for the transformation. Yeah, this is exactly what I just show in the demo. Yeah, hide unwanted field. So now we understand the first part of this demo. Now the next part, or the last part, is a bit more complicated, but I will try to make it as easy as possible. So now we understand that the transformation do some magic on the data. It hides the field or organize it. But there's one more option you can do inside the panel plugin. So the panel plugin offers this panel configuration, and there are many like cell config, data links, value mapping, and there's also override. And we will still use the table panel visualization. The one thing you may notice that this is also in green and that is also in green. This is for a reason, because these panel configuration are dependent on which kind of visualization you are using. So if you might be using like time series or some other, that cell config is not visible there because it is only linked with table panel. It is only available for that panel visualization. Yeah. And we will go through with it step by step. One quick information, I think I can just simply show you with the demo. So Grafana override functions. Overrides is also very similar to transformation, but it has its own way. So basically, when you perform the transformation, it apply on the whole data set. But if you want like a particular row or particular data set to be modified, then you should use the override function. So you don't lose all the data, but only the data which you are looking for only gets modified while the rest remains same. So here we're gonna see how to perform an override called cell type, so that we have this closed column which says currently true or false, looks something like this. Currently it doesn't look like this. This is the screenshot. Now it looks more interesting, more interactive. So how we can make this? So let's go back to our raw data. Okay. Here I will click on this filter and click add field override. And for me, this is the close field. This is here. So I will select field with name and choose the field as closed. Okay. And then here I will just show again, add override property. So I will select cell option, cell type. And instead of auto, I will select to colored background. Now this is already identified by Grafana that false means red. And if we scroll down, it is very hard for me even to look right now because the screen is very small for me here. Oh, okay, I think I found the button. Yeah, and anything which is true will be automatically marked as green. So you can, that Grafana has this knowledge that it can identify what is true, what is false, and do the color marking for you automatically. So yeah, we just saw the demo, and then the next is the data links. Since this is a GitHub repo, so every issue ID is unique. So if you want to visit that issue ID, you don't want to go in browser and type like github.com/myrepo, my URL, and then the issue ID. You want to make it dynamic, and there is option in Grafana which is called data links. So what we gonna do is that the number, which is the issue number, we can add the data link and type the whole URL and just press this $sign. It will automatically fill out these details. And here you can type this link to my URL. And what it will look like that all your issue number will be URL based or clickable. So you don't need to go to other places. You have all this in a single place. And again, your dashboard becoming more dynamic, more structured. And yeah. One more thing is called the value mapping. So value mapping is a way that now you have something which is coming redundantly. Like for example, in our case, if we go back, we have this repo column, which says Grafana/Grafana. For you as a dev, you know this, but maybe your manager or someone in the user team does not understand and you want to make it simple. You want to make it like, hey, this is the Grafana core or Grafana main repository. You don't want to understand it. So you can apply value mapping in these cases. So here is the example that anything which says becomes Grafana core, while anything also which says false is displayed as in progress. We don't want to show false because it may represent a negative that we might not be working, but we are working on the issue and we want to look it as in progress or work in progress, whatever you would like to name it. So you can do these small things, but make it more interactive. And this is how it looks like. You can also change the color. What I did there is that I make the in progress color as orange. The Grafana core should be purple, but it's not. It's because it's a bug. This is an older screenshot, and it is still a bug. Unfortunately, it will fix in Grafana 12 new release, but it is doable. The option is there, so it should work, and it will work. But yeah, this is the use case which I wanted to display you guys as well. Yeah, I'm going back. Okay, now we understand, okay, we have made this dashboard pretty and we clutter out all the redundant information which we didn't need and looks good, but how we can make it dynamic, how we can make it more better, so that, because we talked that we have actually more than one repository. For one repository, this dashboard is good, but if we have more than one, like how you want to make it is still, I have a single pane of glass and I don't need to go in other way to look for other repository in a different dashboard. For that, you can use dashboard variables. In Grafana, it is also known as templating. And basically, it is a way that you create dynamic dashboard without doing any kind of hard coding. What does it mean? We will take a look after this. Dashboard, Grafana provide a lot of options how you want to create a dashboard variable. You can create a query base, which we'll take a look, or you can define your variable via data source, or you can define your custom, which is like comma separated value base, or you can even define a text box as well. So let's take a look how a variable can be defined for this dashboard. So we go back. We can discard this one. And here is the dashboard where you see on top the repo. It has multiple repositories, Grafana K6, Loki, Mimiri, Tempo, and then at the very bottom, we have all these repository coming here as well for whatever we have selected. But how we get all this repository dynamically on the fly? So let's take a look. So if I go in settings and click on variables, and there is a variable name defined as repos. So let's take a look how it looks like. So the first thing is the query type or variable type. We select it as a query, then we give it a name, and then we select the data source. So we want to define the variable for our GitHub data source. And the query type should be, we want to collect all the variables for all the repositories. Owner is Grafana. And this is the field name. We want the field value as name with owner and displayed as the same. And after that, you can see that we are collecting all the repositories via this variable. And we are using this in our dashboard. So we don't need to, like, again, you can create a new repository next day. You don't need to do it anything manually. You can create this query-based variable, and there you go. You have all this in a single place. And you can then use it in your dashboard. Yeah, here. Exactly. So you can use it all here, and the listing is coming. It's a big list. A lot of repositories. Okay, I think this is the last part, the annotations. Does anyone know about annotations? Like what they are in general? Okay, so for me, annotation can be something like, remember when we are kids, we read comics or we read newsletter and we say, hey, this is interesting, let me do a highlighting. So basically you're annotating the text or maybe a picture because you liked it or you get interested. And this is exactly what we use also in Grafana. You want to annotate because some data is interesting for you, something crash or something goes spike up. You want to annotate, hey, this is the reason something bad happened or good happened. So this is called annotations, and you can use annotation with the GitHub data source. And basically, once you use it, it will be like a vertical lines or icons, you say. And you can do also this without any hard coding. How? Again, let's take a look at the demo. So here is a dashboard where you see these vertical lines. These are annotations. And if we take a look, it tells you exactly that there's an issue opened by this user. This is the username, and this is the pull request. And we see another probably pull request as well, which is opened by that user. So it's coming live and dynamically. And how this is defined. So basically, if we go in settings, we already checked the variable, but before variable, there's an option called annotation. So if we click, we are actually collecting the external user's PR. So we are already tracking the internally ourselves via our own tool, but who is checking the external users who are like contributing to our project? Those are important. So yeah, we can definitely do that. And if we click, we define again, give it a name, define the data source. And here at the bottom, we define the query that we want the query type to be pull request. Owner is Grafana, and the query type should be like have these label that it should be open, has a label of PR and it with external, and define the time field when it is created. And once this is all done, you can go back in your dashboard and you can see all these PRs as annotations. So this is pretty cool. And I think this is one of the very powerful feature of this dashboard. Yeah. So my final takeaways will be that If you use Grafana with GitHub data source, basically you finally getting the complete observability or centralized visibility for your repository, who is working on which project, who is owning what, who is taking the decisions, who is actually working from the external side. Because I think the most challenging, even for me working with the community, is that we can't keep track like which user is doing what. Internally, we know because we sync up with our teammates weekly basis, but externally it is hard. You monitoring the productivity. You like, where are your priorities? Which repository is getting a lot of issues responded, or maybe there are problems. And it is not just related to issues of pull requests. If you define maybe some workflows and you see some errors, you can work on that area as well. So basically you have the whole productivity in a single place. And last but not least, transparency and collaboration. I think this is the most important one among working among other teams as well, because you are not just working on your own. You are working maybe with a front-end team, back-end team, this team for maybe for different part of product, and you know who is working what. You can check, keep track, and basically talk to them. Okay, I'm working on this issue. I see that someone filed this, and I see the visibility via this dashboard. So yeah, it helps you a lot. So there is still some future improvement which we are still working on. So this plugin basically currently does not support alerting. There is work going on for that part. And it does support time series data visualization, but not so good. So there is definitely improvement which I see that can be done. Yeah. And I think for these, I think I will encourage all of you to use this data source. It's totally free. You can even just try, play with out and see, hey, this can make sense. There are some improvement which I'm thinking of, and file a feature request or even bug fix if you find an issue, and we will be happy to work it out. And yeah, definitely if you want to get involved, check out these links, which I will share as well. For me, the most helpful basically are the Slack or the community forum. Community forum is basically much better because there is a big knowledge base where many users ask very interesting questions, and you can be part of it if you're interested. Yeah. So I think this is where we started, that we identified the problem, we built a solution, and with that, we can lead our team and ourselves and even external users to a success. And you can scan this QR code because all these links and even the demo, which I just showed, you can get it all from here and play with it and try it out. And that's all. Thank you. Any questions? We haven't that much, honestly. Obviously, there is a case that you can run into API, but so far so good, because the plugin is designed a way that it gives you like a message if you start reaching that, and it will stop and take a pause basically. Yes, there is caching. Internally, there is some caching. I don't know how it is designed, because when I was working on the documentation, there is part of caching, but it's a little bit too technical, I would say. So we want users to use it if we feel like there is something more which we can do. Yeah. And yeah, one last important thing which I forgot. This plugin is not limited to just the free GitHub version. If you're using GitHub Enterprise in your organization, you can use that as well, because all at the end, it just needs like an API token, and there you go. Yeah. Yeah, so the API is basically GraphQL. Yeah, that's correct. We are using the GraphQL, but on top of that, we build this plugin. We can go, the other option is to use, for example, there are many Prometheus GitHub exporters available, but they provide different kind of data. They provide the metrics, but not as detailed as I believe this one, because there is one thing also, we created like a macro function. I can show you very quickly in the documentation. Yeah, so we have some macro functions. Basically, what it allows is that if you have like multiple repository, you don't need to write the whole long string. You can use these functions, and it can save you a lot of time, and it performs more efficiently. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah. No, I don't think there's only one way like you, the streaming one, at least for this one, no. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. Then let's enjoy the evening.